Hello, BookTube and MovieTube. I'm Jonathan, and I thought the Project Hail Mary film was amaze. And I want to share some of the reasons why I think they did a great job adapting the book to the screen. And for context, the book Project Hail Mary is my favorite book written in the last decade. And Ryan Gosling, he's my favorite actor. So I was definitely predisposed to enjoying the film, but that also meant I had high hopes, and there was the chance that I could have been disappointed, which I was not. In fact, this film was 5 jazz hands and 2 thumbs down. If you know, you know. So let's get into the reasons why I think this was a great adaptation. So firstly, I think they nailed the relationships. There are some great relationship dynamics that form in the storyline that takes place on Earth, as well as relationships that take place in outer space. And I love the book Project Hail Mary and the book The Martian, but something that I thought that took Project Hail Mary to that next level was these relationships. There's some really interesting characters, I love the dynamics, and I really hoped that this would translate to the film, and I think they absolutely captured this. I think the relationships, even though this is a hard sci-fi story, it's a cosmic story, but there are some great human elements at play, and I think the actors did a phenomenal job. I loved Ryan Gosling, I thought Sandra Hüller was amazing, and the whole cast really was fantastic. I think you're definitely going to leave this film with some new favorite relationships, some new favorite characters, and I'll be surprised if you walk out of this film without even tearing up just a little bit, because there are a couple of moments that really got to me and are going to be the kind of things that are going to make you want to rewatch it. It's comforting, it's rewarding, and while it is a feel-good movie, I don't think it's just a surface-level movie. I think there are some themes that you are really going to connect to here, or at least I hope you do as much as I did. Next, the movie is really funny. Now, I thought both Project Hail Mary and The Martian had some great humor in it, and The Martian film, I liked it, I thought it was good, but I didn't love it as much as the book, and I didn't find it as laugh-out-loud funny. I think Matt Damon's a great actor, and he's likable and believable and charming, but I wasn't getting as many laugh-out-loud moments from the film as I did with the book. Whereas Project Hail Mary, I think they really nailed the sense of humor. I was a little worried when I saw the trailer that they might lean a little too far into the goofiness, but I think they absolutely got the balance right in the film. It's very funny, but without that coming at the expense of the overall tone and earnestness and the importance of the more dramatic moments. And I think Ryan Gosling is just really good at delivering what are sometimes kind of dorky jokes, but in an earnest way. It's not like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I know this is dorky and I'm doing it ironically. No, he really commits to the bit, commits to the part, and delivers these lines in a genuinely funny way. And then we have the science. So I think a fantastic ability of Andy Weir as a writer is to write science in a way that is interesting and accessible, because his books do lean towards the harder end of the hard sci-fi spectrum, and yet they have mass appeal. And that's because he's able to come up with really clever and fun ways, fun problems that revolve around science, and then coming up with cool and clever solutions with maths, physics, biology, etc., in order to try and overcome those problems. Being able to gamify science in a way that lots of people can understand and enjoy, I think is a real gift. And I feel like we get a decent amount of that in the film. So I have seen some comments saying that they took too much of the science out of it, and that is usually coming from the book readers. And then I also heard a couple people saying, the film was a little too sciencey for me, and that's usually coming from people that haven't read the book. So I think that's a good sign that they struck a good middle ground. I am someone that likes science. I like a lot of hard sci-fi, and I thought they really included about as much science as you could reasonably expect for a large budget mainstream film in terms of what would appeal to audiences, and also just what you have time to include in a 2.5-hour movie, what would really make sense to include in terms of being able to move the story along with good pacing within that time frame. So yes, if that is something you enjoy, you have to read the book, because there's going to be even more of it. There is some really cool stuff in the book that they didn't include in the film, but there was enough of it to make me, a fan of hard sci-fi and a fan of the book, satisfied with the science. And then there was the set design. The set design and the overall production design in this film was phenomenal. They built real sets, real models, and everything kind of has this tactile, tangible, authentic look and feel to it. I love sci-fi books, and I do love sci-fi TV and film as well, but a lot of visual media doesn't necessarily have the budget to really sort of convince you that we are on a ship or in space or doing all of these crazy sci-fi things. And even sometimes big budget films don't necessarily pull off the look due to failures when it comes to the CGI and things like that. I was never once taken out of the film while watching Project Hail Mary. I felt like I was there. The visuals were immersive. They elicited all the emotions that they set out to elicit, and I think that just sort of combines well with the earnest approach that they're going for. Sort of a grounded feel, a human feel, while tackling this big story. I think they were able to couple that tone with the technical aspects. And speaking of technical aspects, the final thing that I think helped bring the book to life on screen was the cinematography. So, something I loved in Project Hail Mary was the scope. It had a similar style to The Martian in terms of this first person POV. We've got these problems in space, but it felt a little bit bigger and a little bit grander. And I thought, how are they going to show this on screen that really sort of like captures your imagination? And some of the shots in this film are absolutely breathtaking. There's a lot of great shots in the film, but there is one shot in particular that I thought was transcendent. I honestly felt like my soul was just levitating out of my body and ascending into the sky. It truly is an experience you have to have in the theaters. And I just want to shout out the cinematographer, Greg Fraser. He's Australian, by the way, so shout out to Australians as well. He has a phenomenal filmography. I'm not going to list them all, but even just in the last few years, he has the Dune movies, Batman, now Project Hail Mary. Honestly, just one of the best cinematographers working, or that has maybe ever worked in film. So if you're a fan of the artistic expression through cinematography, reward yourself with a visit to the theater to watch Project Hail Mary. So there you go. I love the film, and I hope other book lovers do too. And if you haven't read the book, a number of people have asked me, should I watch the film first, then read the book, or should I read the book first and then watch the film? So to that, I have three things to say. The first is, I don't think you can go wrong. They're both elite. I think you're going to have a good time either way you do it. Secondly, if you force me to choose, I'm probably going to go with reading the book first. That's what I did, and it worked out really well for me. And I think there's a couple of details which might help make the film make sense, or make it a little bit easier for you to grasp everything that's happening in the film if you've read the book first. But I don't think it's confusing if you haven't read the book, but it might just help you get the full picture. But my caveat to that is, the third thing I'll say is, don't let that be the reason you don't see the film in theaters. So if you haven't read it, but you think, oh, well, I can pick this up and read it in the next week or so and then go see it in the movies, great. That's awesome. Do that. But if you're someone that's like, well, I have other stuff to read, or I'm a slow reader and I might get to it in a few weeks or a few months, and you miss the chance to see it in theaters, don't let that happen. If that's the case, go see it at the movies, then read the book afterwards. I think you'll thank me later. So that's it for today's video. I love the movie. Let me know in the comments if you loved it too. I hope you did. And if you enjoyed the video, smash or just gently click the subscribe button. And if you really enjoyed it, consider checking out the perks of becoming a Patreon member, where you can become one of my robots, androids, or cyborgs, like Nima, Anu Eden, Half-Ogre, Zakawe, Samil, Colin, and the Amaze Bamsis. And you can find more sci-fi content over here.